Well, in the next story we're going to cover, we discover the fine line between a slavish devotion to quality and an inability to read and time the market. Properly navigating a customer product launch with consideration for these two factors demands high competency in the art and science. You just were talking about art and science. The art and science, in this case, of risk management. The Curious Case of the Fidget Cube is the name of an article by another one of our very excellent writers on staff here, Christopher Martin, that ran in last Thursday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter. In the week plus since the piece first appeared, it's consistently ranked, it just dropped out, but it consistently ranked as one of our best, if not our best read articles. In fact, it's now closing in on an impressive total of 2,000 reads.
That's in a week.
In a week, which is pretty good, pretty good. A lot of you read that article. I'm sure a lot of you got a lot of value out of it. Well, to quickly recap the story, a little less than a year ago in August of 2016, a company by the name of ANSI Labs launched a Kickstarter campaign to introduce a cute little stress relief device that they called the Fidget Cube. There it is right there. The campaign had a fundraising target of $15,000, which they reached in less than a day. After a month, the campaign ended after raising more than $6 million.
I'm in the wrong business.
Quite a success, right? I mean, that was just a great bonanza of a success, right? Well, in this case, maybe be careful what you wish for. The owners of ANSI Labs, Matthew and Mark McLaughlin, had to deliver way more units than they had initially planned, with a tight production timeline to reach consumers before Christmas, which is what they had promised as part of the Kickstarter campaign. Just before the holidays last year, they reported a somewhat minor flaw in the product, and due to their professed dedication to quality, they simply could not ship the cubes until the issue was resolved. Noble? Sure. Smart? Well, maybe not so much. Maybe not so strategic.
This was a minor issue, but they were perfectionists and they didn't want to.
That's exactly what they said, and they communicated very well with their stakeholders, with their people that invested and were waiting for their cubes. They said, we've got a problem, and we don't want to ship you inferior product. We really are going to be devoted to quality. We're going to ship you the best possible cube we can, and we're going to kind of stop production. We're going to relaunch it, and we're going to get you your cubes at some point in early 2017. Well, while ANSI Labs was fidgeting away their market momentum, customer goodwill, and capital, cheap knockoff cubes began flooding the market. We've seen that happen before. And now there's some question, actually, and you see actually a knockoff in an original ANSI Labs cube there. And there's some question as to whether or not the knockoffs were actually ANSI Labs rejected Fidget cubes themselves. We're not quite sure about that. But as Christopher mentions in the article, the effect really was the same. ANSI surrendered their lead in the space, and they've been playing catch-up ever since. The advent of a similar product aimed at a different type of consumer, the fidget spinner, didn't help matters. And Christopher unpacks that a little bit too. The fidget spinner really is more for kids. Right. The Fidget Cube was really intended for like business people who are at their desk and they're making calls, or they need to do something, you know. So they're kind of slightly different markets, but you know, the advent of the fidget spinner, which of course became a huge thing earlier this year, didn't help matters. So did anyone on the ANSI Labs team have a sense of risk management is really the question at the heart of this. And if so, they may have been able to anticipate some of the questions that Christopher posed in his article. These are good questions to think about. Things like, how will your campaign react if you're met with staggering success? You know, we always have a fear of failure. You know, we should be fearful maybe of overly being successful too. How are you going to deal with knockoffs and copycats? If you have a good product that people want, it's going to happen. How involved with the manufacturer should you be along the way so mistakes aren't found too late in the process? That seems what happened here. And if the product is found defective, is it wise to buy the stock anyway, simply to keep it off the market?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a really good question as well. Christopher did a good job in this article looking at a lot of angles on this. And these and other questions like it are hard questions to answer. And in some questions, they can even be hard to know how to ask properly, you know? I mean, it's the old, you don't know what you don't know quadrant, which is really the most dangerous place to be if you're in a product launch of any kind. And be that as it may, however, you have to keep pushing, I think, regardless of you don't know what you don't know, because things like the 5 whys or tools like root cause analysis, I mean, they really can be effective in beginning to shed light on the real factors that are causing your processes and outputs to succeed, or maybe in this case to fail. The Fidget Cube still may end up being a success. It was recently acquired and rather awkwardly rebranded as the original Fidget Cube by ANSI Labs, new from Zuru.
Rolls right off your tongue.
Don't really know what that means. But equally likely, or perhaps more likely, the Fidget Cube is going to end up being a cautionary tale for all those who launch into the consumer space without a good handle on risk management best practices. So proceed at your own risk is really the nature here. If you don't have an appreciation for it, I mean, you said in the tease that, is it possible to have too fine of a focus on quality, too laser-like focus on quality?
That I think was actually something that came out in that article as well, is they admitted that the problem is something that probably very few people would have seen.
Very minor problem.
It was a minor problem.
But with a lot of use, and they wanted their stuff to be used, their cubes to be used a lot, and be something that people could have for a while.
I mean, another way I've done that is if it was that minor, is just offer free warranty, lifetime warranty, or whatever, or 10-year warranty, or something ridiculous, so that if they got them back, they just, because they're cheap, right? I mean, they don't cost that much.
Right.
They just replace them rather than delay going to market. It's something a lot of people do. So in this case, to me, in my mind, is they were too caught up in we're going to be absolutely perfect on this. We're not going to, and they missed their boat.
There's another piece of this that Christopher alludes to in the article, which I thought was interesting, was that there were rumors, there were scuttlebutt going around the boards, the various online boards about this, from the Kickstarter people that participated in the Kickstarter campaign. And there was a feeling that maybe there wasn't a flaw, maybe they just had so many orders that they didn't expect. It was a $15,000 campaign.
Yeah.
They raised $6 million. That's a heck of a lot more cubes than they ever would have planned to have. I mean, it's probably, I don't know how many millions, many cubes.
So we're going to make up the story.
There was rumors. Who knows? That's not confirmed by anybody. I don't want to get in trouble with Fancy Labs. But I mean, there was rumors on the boards that maybe this is what's going on. That's maybe possible too. I don't know, but I mean,
companies do stuff.
Either way, I mean, what you're saying is right. There's other ways to handle it. If it was a quality issue, there's other ways of handling it.